Welcome to the Natural Health Show with one of New England's leading natural health care specialists, Mark Mincola. Call Mark at 781-837-4900 on 95.9 WATD. He's waiting to hear from you.
Welcome home, Natural Health Nation. As always, it's great to have you with us. Hopefully you're all doing well and feeling great. And hopefully this has been a radiantly warm, enjoyable, loving, healthy, happy Sunday for everybody out there. And a great weekend as well. And as usual, we're going to talk to you this evening about some extremely important issues regarding your health and your natural health, and how you keep yourself well and how you keep that immune system working at a high level. Hey, it's great to be with you. We're talking with you tonight about something we've often spoken to you about. We like to talk to you about this issue because it's a very confusing issue for so very many people, and I find myself constantly dealing with the issue of cancer with so very many folks out there. And there's some interesting news that I wanted to kind of break into here regarding new studies. But before we do that, I just kind of want to get everything grounded and centered here. When you think about cancer, it is really quite evident that we are not winning the war on cancer. And all that rhetoric over the years that we have waged war on the number two, fast becoming, by the way, the number one killer, about to overtake heart disease, is cancer. And, over the past 30 years, the incidence of cancer has increased by 40%. 3 decades, 40%, incredible numbers. Yeah, back in 1960, 1 in 4 Americans were diagnosed with cancer. Now it's nearly 1 in 2. That's right, 41% of all men and women will be diagnosed with cancer. 21% will succumb to the disease. And, according to the President's Cancer Panel, who recently convened, and pretty horrible figures, pretty horrible numbers. And when you think about the way conventional medicine is defining and dealing with cancer, it's, again, the war on cancer is not being won. It's the simplest way to put it. We really need to understand that. It's not just that cancer is increasing, and of course it is, but our inability to really contend with it effectively as a culture and as a conventional system of medicine needs to be fully appreciated as well. And again, conventional medicine defines cancer as a colony of malignant cells that refer to a tumor site. And conventional medicine treats it as in 3 forms: cutting it, poisoning it, or burning it. What's often referred to as the big 3: surgery, chemo, and radiation. Most folks are not aware of the 2004 Journal of Clinical Oncology report. 2004, the Journal of Clinical Oncology reported a 2.1% of chemo patients had a 5-year survival rate. So the success for 5-year survival, the success of chemotherapy, 2.1%. And that is, again, reported on by the Journal of Clinical Oncology, 2004. The relapse rate is 96%, folks. Therefore, according to the 2004 Journal of Clinical Oncology, 2.1% are successfully given a 5-year extension of life after chemo, 96% of which relapse. So when we think about cancer, we have to think about the way we are currently understanding it as a culture. We are losing the war on cancer. We've been losing it since day one. We're still falling rapidly behind. When you think about what a tumor really is, a tumor is merely a symptom Cancer cells basically feed off of glucose, or sugar, if you will. And then galactic acid is excreted into the bloodstream. That lactic acid, rather, is excreted in the bloodstream, is carried into the liver, where the lactic acid is once again converted back into glucose in an endless cyclical source of energy for cancer cells. As the disease progresses, glucose levels rise. So imagine an entity that can actually eat, excrete, and convert its waste back into food. Think about that. That is the perfect system. And that is what cancer has devised. But it requires an environment that is acid, that it cannot tolerate an alkaline environment. So cancer requires a high acidic environment. It requires glucose or sugar, and it requires acidity. When cancer is met with an alkaline environment, it struggles. So a tumor is merely a symptom of the disease. Dr. Tullio Simoncini of Italy, an oncologist from Italy, a very respected, well-known oncologist in Europe, biopsied over 1,000 tumor sites, found that every single one of them at their core was white. Thought that was kind of curious. Biopsied them further and found that the white core in all tumor sites was fungal, that there was a fungus at the core of all tumor sites. Hence his recent best-selling book, Cancer is a Fungus, caused by Candida colonization, a fungal bacteria controlled by the acidity and the sugar in the body. And again, when you think about the two-time Nobel Prize winner, Dr. Otto Warburg, two-time Nobel Prize-winning research says that the primary cause of cancer is the fermentation of sugar, which feeds the fungus at the tumor site. So when we think about cancer, we think about sugar, we think about acidity, and giving people IVs full of glucose only feeds the cancer. We've got to really consider new ways to conceptualize, to strategize, and to better understand cancer. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some interesting new research, some fascinating studies about natural medicines that beat cancer. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Laura from Good Health. When it comes to lasting health and nutrition, the old adage, you are what you eat, really is true. At Good Health, we make it easy to eat healthy and save money. We carry only 100% certified organic, super clean produce and fresh garden herbs. Our groceries are natural, wheat-free, dairy-free, low-carb, and kosher. So rethink your lifestyle. Read product labels and look for actual ingredients on all your purchases. We're here to help you shop smart, find the best values, and enjoy our everyday shopping convenience. Select only the freshest fruits, veggies, and natural groceries for your family. Choose all-natural health, beauty, and sun care products. Do all you can to stay well. Try our whole food and gluten-free vitamins and sports supplements. Come to Good Health in Quincy or Hanover today. Speak to someone who's informed. Learn more about our in-store events and monthly specials at goodhealthnaturalfood.com. Come see why our name says it all. And thanks for listening.
You know, when most people hear the word allergies, they think only of hay fever-like symptoms associated with airborne pollen, dust, and mold. But did you know that many experts estimate that between 60 and 80 million of us suffer from immune-related food allergies without even knowing it? Furthermore, food allergies often contribute to serious health problems such as autism, irritable bowel syndrome, ADD, headaches, and chronic ear infections. Now, there's an effective way to identify and eliminate both your food allergies and the troubling symptoms that they aggravate. Allotest Medical Labs at foodallergy.com offers a full complement of clinical, environmental, and food allergy testing to help you get to the root of your allergy problems. Allotest also provides you with a comprehensive rotation diet, lifestyle booklet, and a wallet card to help you live food allergy-free and stress-free. Do you wonder if you or your loved ones are among the 60 to 80 million food allergy sufferers in America? If so, log on to Allotest Medical Labs, foodallergy.com. Talk to your doctor about ordering a food allergy test from Allotest Medical Labs today. Foodallergy.com. Make sure the food you're eating isn't what's depleting you.
Now back to the Natural Health Show, sponsored by Good Health Natural Foods, Jarrow Formulas, and Ultimate Healing Journey.
Alrighty, welcome back. And we're talking with you tonight about some interesting new information that you can check out for yourself, actually, if you'd like. But it's really fascinating. You know, there are a lot of different ways that evolution happens. You know, the evolution of a culture, the evolution of consciousness, the evolution of awareness of a culture. As a culture like ours grows, it takes on new concepts, new information, and we're always changing, we're always growing, we're always expanding our awareness. As time goes on, as we live, we grow, we learn. And this is no exception. This whole issue of cancer is something that an awful lot of people are starting to really question and ask about, and with good intention and with good design. The key really here is that we really need to kind of give second thought and give pause to the way we think about cancer. Automatically, people are just taught that cancer is purely a mutation that just sort of randomly happens. Yet we've got a 2-time Nobel Prize-winning scientist that says that's not the case, that cancer has reasons for occurring. Cancer requires the fermentation of sugar, and cancer requires an acid environment. So the more sugar you eat, the more fermented food you consume, the more acidic processed food and stress you encounter. In essence, the more out of balance you are, the more likely you are to, unfortunately, succumb to the disease. And that's a 2-time Nobel Prize winner saying, yes, sugar, fermentation, acidity, these are the keys. It's not just this random mutation. And again, the tumor is merely a symptom. It is not the cause of the disease. Tumor is a symptom as the result of cancer feeding off of glucose. Again, lactic acid excreting into the bloodstream, which again carries itself to the liver, once again converting back into glucose. Very, very important information. The other thing we want to look at too here is a lot of the recent research that indicates that there are a variety of strategies that we need to consider. One that we're going to talk about in a little while is regarding the research developed from a Chinese pharmacist whose name is Li Dapeng, a researcher at the National Taiwan University. All right, imagine this, folks. There's something called Job's tears. Now, it's not very complicated. We've all had barley. We've all had beef barley soup. We've had barley cereal. Well, Job's tears is merely a form of barley, a food, like a porridge. There's a medicine developed from Job's tears, from this porridge, this barley porridge, called Can-Gly tea. Can-Gly tea. That is the medical name. This remarkable product is being used in China right now. It's been studied on over 270,000 subjects from over 2,000 hospitals since 1997. And 500,000 Chinese have been helped. 500,000 Chinese cancer patients have been helped. Now there are U.S. clinical trials that are taking place. Can-Gly tea. Porridge. Hey, let's go to Kevin in Taunton. Welcome to the Natural Health Show.
Hey, Mark. How are you doing today?
Terrific. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Look, I gotta give you thanks for all your support and contribution to what you've been doing, because I've actually helped a lot of people with problems that, because of your knowledge, I've been expressing things to them, and they've actually tried it, and it's actually worked. I mean, anywhere from small tumors to lupus and ADHD and stuff like that. But I do have one serious question. I want to know with arthritis. I know food is a big contribution to arthritis. So what type of, obviously going on a diet with arthritis, what type of supplement can you recommend to take with that to help subside the effects of arthritis?
Yeah. Well, Kevin, first things first, let me first of all thank you and tell you that I'm honored that anybody's ever been helped in any way, shape, or form, based on any information that might have been disseminated from this program. So hats off to you and your work and your dedication and your concern and compassion for people. And thank you so much for mentioning that. That's means a great deal to me.
Mark, I tell you, it's a total honor to just look. I've always been a firm believer in all natural remedies, and I am a complete example of natural remedies. But you have just broadened my horizon to foods and just health and just everything that goes along with it.
Well, that's great, Kevin. I appreciate that again.
To that, I thank you. So I can't say anything more than that.
My pleasure. Well, thank you very much again. And let's get right to the topic here of your question. I think the key point is you're absolutely right. Food plays a big, big role when we talk about something like arthritis. First of all, we were talking about an inflammatory condition. Mm-hmm. So if we think about inflammation taking place at an icosanoid or a hormone-like level in the body, that means that arthritis isn't just the result of aches and pains. It's the result of too much consumption of red meat, dairy products, egg yolks, and peanuts.
Correct.
Those things have to be subtracted, of course, from the diet. Secondly, of course, there are anti-inflammatory supports that a lot of folks have benefited from. A lot of COX-2 inhibitors, things that actually drive down the inflammatory levels. So we could actually recommend things like turmeric, for example. Turmeric or ginger are really helpful. There's a variety of different ginger supplements out there and turmeric supplements out there that could be very, very helpful for a lot of folks with arthritis. Also, fish oils have been really good for a lot of folks. Fish oils and or flax oil, the omega-3s, to, again, support the anti-inflammatory processes in the body and to offset the COX-2 hormone production. So, again, I think it's a combination of things. I think really, number one, cool it with the red meats, the dairy products, the egg yolks, the peanuts, and, of course, sugar plays a huge role in this thing. And one of the most important things you might do with arthritis is get on down to Good Health Natural Foods and get yourself some urinary strips and to look at the urinary pH. That first morning's urine should be between 6.4 and 6.8. And we're talking about inflammatory diseases, whether we're talking about arthritis or cancer. You want to put the body in a state of homeostasis. You want to balance out the chemistry. Again, you want to make sure that there's as much oxygen delivered to those healthy cells as possible. Your cells are mini-me's. They need oxygen just like you do. So if your pH is between 6.4 and 6.8, you're maximizing the delivery of oxygen to those cells. So if you're even 6.3, think about that. If you're even 1/10 of a point off the mark, that's 64.9% oxygen deficiency. So if you want to beat cancer, if you want to beat inflammatory diseases like arthritis, you want to make sure that you balance your pH. That's extremely important.
Okay, so you're saying with obviously going on a type of a food diet, take turmeric, ginger, fish oils, and stuff like that, that'll pretty much subside the effects would help, right?
Yeah, but I think too, when you look at the pH, if the pH is under 6.4, one of the most important things you're going to do, Kevin, is you're going to start using some chlorophyll, maybe 2 tablespoons of liquid chlorophyll and 4 ounces of water 3 times a day, half a teaspoon of baking soda and 4 ounces of water before bed. Really buffer that pH, increase the delivery of oxygen, and help offset the inflammation.
Okay, and my other question, it's not really a question, it's just kind of like a fact that I know, but I think other people should know, is the fact that I was diagnosed with apple cider vinegar. I was diagnosed with acid reflux disease. Mm-hmm. And doctor put me on a medication that I was not too comfortable taking, had multiple side effects, and I decided to take an apple cider vinegar, which then therefore cured my problem with that. But I just think that I know there's other health benefits to taking that. I was just wondering what they were.
Well, one of the things that
apple cider vinegar.
Yeah, one of the things that apple cider vinegar does is it increases your production of hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid is a protease. It's a proteolytic enzyme that breaks down proteins. One of the major causes of these inflammatory conditions is non-metabolized, undigested proteins. So the cider vinegar has that little bit of acidity that triggers your body's production of this catalyst enzyme that acts like Pac-Man and gobbles down those proteins. Problem with cider vinegar, though, is that it also has a fermentation rate. So there's other ways to increase your hydrochloric acid. There's some really good things that you can use for your GERD, for your reflux problem, things like DGL. DGL is extremely helpful. And also something called Mastica, M-A-S-T-I-C-A, gum mastica. Those are really good ways to do the same thing. And if you want to increase that hydrochloric acid without the fermentation that cider vinegar brings to the table, you might think about using some chewable papain, P-A-P-A-I-N, which is a pineapple enzyme.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, it's a papaya
taking
enzyme.
apple cider vinegar, is it bad?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of any fermentation. Fermentation produces acetic acid, produces a lot of pyruvic acid, lactic acid, which again, don't forget what we're saying about lactic acid. If you think about cancer, cancer can actually feed itself by literally converting its waste back into food. And again, its waste product is lactic acid, so we don't want to increase that in the body.
So what was so a supplement to apple cider vinegar? What was that? Tapamine?
No, papain, P-A-P-A-I-N, papain. Papain it's a papaya enzyme. It'll do the same thing. It'll increase your hydrochloric acid without the fermentation.
Okay, so when I get like a heartburn, normally I would take a swig of apple cider vinegar. You're saying when I have
I'm saying
that
you take a chewable take 2 chewable papain tablets, and you take 1 DGL, chewable DGL. You do that, you'll be fine.
Okay, so you're not actually really recommending apple cider vinegar.
That is correct.
Okay, Mark, once again, I appreciate everything. And
kudos to you, Kevin. Keep up the great work, and thank you so much for
happy Father's Day to you.
Hey, thanks very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to another line here. We've got Roy on the phone from Rhode Island. Welcome, Roy.
Welcome, Mark. Good evening. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine.
Mark, I have a concern. I'm really, really troubled by something. I'm enjoying your program tonight. I don't want to take away from what you're trying to accomplish here. I have 2 concerns, and one of them is you mentioned the 2004 study in the Journal of Oncology. My first question is, why then are hospitals, and you know who the hospitals are, and as I do, keep expanding their centers? You have fund drives for cancer and all those kinds. They all advocate chemotherapy and radiation. Well, and my second question is, then I'm going to hang up. Is I talk to people. I was talking to a gentleman today. He has pancreatic cancer. Mm-hmm. You know how the doctor extended his life? He extended it by bypassing the pancreas. And when you talk to people about what you're speaking of tonight, it's quackery medicine, you're wrong, this and that. They would rather. I've made it a point in my will that if I should get cancer and if I can't find someone to treat me with holistic medicine, I want them to put me to sleep. Because I don't want to go through the medicines. People are hung up on this thing today about radiation and cancer. Oh, it's wonderful. Just think how it extends the life. Well, the points you've made tonight really, really put it in perspective. How do you convince the orthodoxy of all of this? And I'm going to take my questions off the air. It's always a pleasure, Mark.
Thank you so much, Roy. Always a pleasure to have you call in. Your questions are always very insightful, very thoughtful. And my answers to your questions, quite simply, are that we have an establishment, we have a medical establishment, and we have conventional systems of treatment in place. And that means that they are very. There's a rudiment there. There's a development there. There's a tremendous amount of investment. There's a tremendous amount of power there. It's well entrenched. It's not about to go anywhere. And, for all intents and purposes, there are no other well-organized approaches systematically in place to take their place. In other words, you've got individuals like you and I, who we keep hearing stories. You turn on Dr. Oz and you might hear a remarkable story, or you always hear stories from people that we're going to actually have a remarkable gentleman on in a little while here who's actually survived cancer 6 different times. A good friend of ours, Dan Hegrich. But anyway, there are individuals like Dan Hegrich or individuals like ourselves who perhaps have changed their diet. A lot of folks that I've worked with over the last 30 years who've changed their diets, who've made differences, who've really beaten the disease and really on their own done the work. And it's really, the credit goes to them. They essentially have done all the hard work to detox, to clean their bodies, to balance their systems, to balance their pH, balance their chemistry, and get back on track. But, listen, if you go back as far as 1976, The McGovern Committee, Senator George McGovern, headed a Senate subcommittee, and they heard testimony from 1,100 scientists from 8 different countries. And they heard during that testimony that 30% of all cancer was preventable through diet alone. 30% of all cancer-related deaths. That's an incredible amount of people every year that we could be saving with food. So we knew as far back as 1976 that it wasn't quackery, and that was a Senate subcommittee that you and I paid for with our tax dollars, hearing from 1,100 different world-renowned scientists that again indicated that food is a big difference maker. Food makes the difference. There's no question about it. Now, cutting, poisoning, and burning are definitely part of the conventional medical approach. But my point again to you is, do we have a system in place? Do we have a conventional system in place that can replace the present system? And the answer is no, we don't. We really don't. We don't have a cultural system that can be embraced, that is systematically developed, that everybody can sort of rely upon with any degree of consistency. There are individuals that try this, that try that. We talk about the remarkable medicines from time to time that have been studied in terms of natural foods, natural supplements. We talk about things like black cumin seed oil that was studied at the Jefferson Medical College in Philadelphia recently as being able to cause apoptosis or cancer cell death in animal studies for pancreatic cancer. There's remarkably promising information. There's great natural medicines out there. That's not the point. The point is we don't have anything in place. We don't have an alternative body. We don't have a governing alternative medicine body. There's no organization. It's individuals that have to find their way and that have to grasp this information and work with it. It's very, very difficult for individuals to really feel that confidence, to really to obtain the information, to have the professional help and assistance and guidance. It's pretty tough. It's really pretty tough. But again, I think the key here is there an alternative? There really are alternatives that are very remarkable. And again, many, many stories. We've heard them all, and they continue to speak to us, and they're not going away. Hey, we'll take a short break. Be right back. Stay tuned. Hi, this is Mark Mincola. You know, over the past decade, the Natural Health Show has attracted many thousands of avid listeners. As the show approaches its 10th anniversary this coming June, I'd like to extend an open invitation to all potential new sponsors to join our Natural Health Show family. If you own a Heart Smart lighter fare or seafood restaurant, a fitness or day spa, or if you're an allied health professional or coach, the Natural Health Show is the perfect place for you to make the direct connection with your demographic target. If you really want to zero in and aim the message of your vision directly at those who want to most know about it, join the Natural Health Show family of sponsors. I promise you'll be glad you did. For information, call Candida at 781-834-2728. That's 781-834-2728. With the burgeoning growth of the Natural Health Show, now's the perfect time to share in that growth together.
With over 40 years of aesthetic experience and almost a full decade of laser expertise, Bell Aesthetics and Babyface Skin Spa in Norwell offer a full range of services including spa nail treatments and airbrush tanning.
Enjoy spa services from a luxury spa facial up to a medical-grade laser treatments, including the new dual Fraxel laser.
Brighten and tighten your skin with a wide range of medical-grade peels from Obagi and Skin Medica. Most treatments have no downtime and show immediate benefits.
Book now at Bella Aesthetics and Babyface Skin Spa and look your best all year round. We also offer medical-grade products for your home maintenance.
If you're looking for experience, expertise, and results, we're looking for you.
Call us today, 781-987-1365, and transform the skin you're in.
Bella Aesthetics and Babyface Skin Spa.
Find us online at babyfaceskinspa.net or visit us at 400 Washington Street, Route 53, Norwell.
Now, back to the Natural Health Show, sponsored by Healthy Living Magazine and Alites Medical Laboratory.
All righty, welcome back. And earlier we spoke about an interesting Chinese product called Can, K-A-N, Glai, G-L-A-I-T, T-E, Can Glai Tea. Can Glai Tea is the medicinal name for the pearled barley. Yes, like I said, barley here earlier. It's like a porridge, just like you've eaten many times probably over your life, your beef barley soups and whatnot. But it's a Chinese form of barley called Job's Tears. And there's a medicine that has been extracted from this pearled barley, food-grade medicine. But in Chinese studies, this product is called Yi Yi Zhen. And this product has been studied over 270,000 subjects, over 2,000 different hospitals since 1997. Proven effective. Again, this is a food, folks. Food. Proven effective against malignant tumors of the lung, liver, stomach, breast, prostate, esophagus, kidneys, colon, ovaries, and nasopharynx. Kills cancer cells, inhibits their growth, boosts immunity, is a painkiller, and it's been successful for over 500,000 Chinese with cancer since 1997. And here's the other part of the equation. Does it destroy the quality of life? No. Does it cause weight loss or loss of appetite? No. Does it have any harmful side effects on the vital functions of the brain, heart, liver, kidneys, or blood? No. It's a food-grade medicine. And a lot of researchers say that it is due to its 6 phenol antioxidant compounds found in the seed. But here's what's really impressive, okay? It's been well studied in China since 1997, reluctantly studied here in this country. It's been sort of kept under the covers here, not much talked about it. But now there's enough awareness and there's enough investment money that's been put behind this CanGlyT that Johns Hopkins clinical trials recently showed that it has a tumor inhibition rate of over 50% for breast cancer strain MDA-MB231. So Johns Hopkins researchers just recently looked at CanGlyT, pearled barley, porridge, food-grade medicine. Again, it's a whole grain, folks, but it has antioxidants in it. They've isolated them. They've made it a food-grade medicine, and again, studied at Johns Hopkins. And recent clinical trials indeed showed its tumor inhibition rate well over 50% for breast cancer strain MDA-MB231. Okay, so CanGlyT is available in soft gel caps in China. But unfortunately, there are a variety of problems as far as tariffs and import restrictions and limiting your access. And you can imagine why and all that other business. And it's so convoluted, as it always is. So for you to purchase it from China off the internet, you could. We're talking about the cheapest price I saw is $59.95 for 84 caps. $59.95. Generally, it's about $100 for 72 caps. The best price I found, $59.95 for 84 caps. But I got a better way to look at this thing. The key to the barley is barley has a polysaccharide fiber called beta-glucan. Beta-glucan is a polysaccharide fiber that is exactly what this Job's Tear, this CanGlyT has in it. Okay? Instead of paying $1 gazillion and trying to work your way around import restrictions and tariffs and all that stuff, and going through hell and high water for this medicine, sometimes you just have to be a little bit creative with your thinking. And I'm thinking to myself, the key in barley, polysaccharide fiber, beta-glucan 3D, beta-1 3D. You can go down to Good Health Natural Foods, and you can get Transfer Point is the brand, Transfer Point. I'll say it again, Transfer Point. Beta-1, B-E-T-A, just the Roman numeral 1, comma, 3D, as in David, glucan, G-L-U-C-A-N. So it's beta-1, 3D, glucan. And the company is called Transfer Point, and you can find that at Good Health Natural Foods. And you're looking at, in my opinion, the same exact medicinal power punch that you get with CanGlyT. Why? Because beta-3D-glucan has already been studied as a powerful antioxidant supporting immunity, inhibiting tumor growth, anti-cancer properties, as far back as 2004 at the Journal of Immunology. So if you look at 2004 Journal of Immunology, you'll find Western studies about beta-3D-glucan that pretty much say the same thing that these Chinese studies say about CanGlyT. So all this remarkable fascination about natural ways to beat cancer in the form of these Chinese remedies like CanGlyT, which is from porridge, from pearled barley porridge, because of the polysaccharide beta-glucan, you can simply go right to Good Health Natural Foods and get yourself the beta-1 3D-glucan by Transfer Point. Those are 500 milligrams. I'd say take 2 a day. You will accomplish, for all intents and purposes, the same thing. So, some remarkable information about civilized ways to beat cancer. And while we talk about civilized ways to beat cancer, we have an expert on the line, a good dear friend, somebody that I haven't talked to in a long time, somebody that is near and dear to me, and somebody I love is a good friend named Dan Hegerich. Dan is a writer, a health educator, and consultant. And listen, folks, closely. Get closer to your radio. Dan Hegerich is a 6-time cancer survivor, and he is a remarkably inspiring and a remarkably gifted teacher. Dan, welcome.
Hi, Mark. How are you tonight?
How have you been?
I've been good, and on the other side of the coin, there are challenges that I face. And as Einstein said, he had a student that said, "Geez, Einstein, why are you giving me these hard problems?" And he goes, "Kid, if you think that's a hard problem, you should see my math problem." So we all have our challenges.
We do.
I'm admitting that. And, on one side, think about today alone, 1,500 people just died of cancer.
Yep.
In our country, and 4,300 approximately just got diagnosed. So that's 5,800 people that were affected. And then you got the upstream and downstream ripple of that. How many more people were affected by cancer just today alone? And the scary part, Mark, is that we're numbed out to it.
Great point.
We think that that's just part of life, that's what we're here to experience. And I guess
well, Dan,
going through the experience of terminal cancer 6 times is saying that, no, that's not what we're here for.
Right. Well, Dan, let me follow up on that important assertion on your part, too. I agree with you. We have been numbed out. And I think that when you think about the way we view cancer, that's why I'm doing this program. The way we understand, the way we misunderstand, the way we view cancer and its treatment, we're numb to the entire process, soup to nuts.
Right.
A to Z. So what would you say to all our listeners out there that would awaken them to a different way of relating to cancer so that they're not numbed out, that they awaken to a different perspective? What would you share?
Well, the first thing I come down to is cancer is an experience that someone's having or may have in order to awaken to living a conscious life, a life that is closer in relationship to nature and nature's laws, and also living more in accordance with their authentic self.
So those folks out there that are not happy and just kind of plugging along saying, oh, well, and they numb themselves to their unhappiness and just pick it up and just roll it over another day, and perhaps in the process numb themselves out with food and drink and just kind of work against the importance of their inner self being truly happy and their balance being maintained both in mind, spirit, and body. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and we can make it even in a simpler way. Think of a baby crawling and then crawling for a length of time before it begins to walk. Now that's its natural course of evolution, and it's becoming into its own authentic self. It does it naturally. It just goes from crawling to walking.
Yep.
Now, what happens is if a parent or a person interrupts that length of time by trying to get their child to walk quicker,
yep,
it loses its developmental point to thrive and to live an authentic life. It's disrupted its natural growth spurt. It's disrupted the integration of the brain so it can actually be more authentic. So what I'm saying is that we are all naturally on course to evolve into our humanness and our spiritualness if we allow it. And the way Einstein said is just look to nature and you'll understand everything. You know?
Pretty true.
Right. So I think that's where we're missing in our modern world, is that we're so mechanicalized. We're hamsters on the wheel. And we're missing our naturalness, our nature, what is we're all about. And that's what brings us to this talk tonight, is maybe the elements of healing are missing.
So I'd like you to comment on the following statement that I'm going to make here. The Center for Disease Control recently reported that 0.5 to 1% of metastatic cancer patients survive 5 years.
Yeah.
And the as I mentioned earlier, 2004 Journal of Clinical Oncology said that 2.1% of chemo-treated patients have a 5-year survival rate. So, as someone asked earlier, a caller called in earlier and says, well, listen, if there's a 2.1% chemo patient 5-year survival rate, then why are we doing that? What is your comment on that?
Well, I guess from my experience, they have bills to be paid. Someone has bills to be paid, right? I mean, somebody's making money off of it.
All right, so more importantly, though, how do we get that number up? How do we get more people to survive more than 5 years and to beat the disease, in your opinion?
Yeah, no matter what, they're going to have to make lifestyle changes.
Lifestyle changes such as?
Well, you go into nutrition and movement. It's the only two lifestyle factors that apply. And if you, I'm a Buddhist philosophy, so it's like yin and yang. So the yin is nourishment. They need to be nourished somewhere, and it could be, physiologically from food, and it could also be from emotional nourishment.
Yep.
They also need movement. They need to move something. What I always classically say to people is something's missing in your life, and something in your life has to go. And the quicker you identify them, and the more accuracy you identify them, the faster you will come into homeostasis.
Now, you just said something really fascinating. Something missing in your life and something must go. Now, the average person is going to think if there's something missing in my life, I have to add something, not subtract it. Talk to me about that.
Well, I find that in the healing process, letting go is more powerful than adding in. Letting go of what no longer serves you because it's causing so much stress on your system or on the organism that when you let it go, it frees up the energy that was being used to either defend or deflect or to hold off on that. And those nutrients are available now for healing.
So
letting go is powerful.
I hear you, and I think we all can relate to that. We've all had periods where we had to go through a letting go process of something that we had a hard time letting go of, but surprise, surprise, after we did, we found a tremendous release of energy. But again, the average person would say, look, I'm miserable at my job, but I need the dough. I'm miserable in my relationship, but I don't want to rock the boat because I'd rather not be alone. These are the things that people contend with. What say you about those things?
Well, then now you're acknowledging it, number one, so it's in your awareness that, okay, my job isn't the greatest, it's not producing creativity, whatever. At least now you know that you can use the job to fund, to pay you the monies to start investing in what's my next step. Where do I want to go? Where am I going to evolve to? I'm going to move from crawling in this job to walking in another job. What does that mean? So now I can start to spend some effort and energy towards starting to create my next stage of development within myself. So that's where people want to consider, where do they spend their money? Instead of going Friday night and having dinner that's going to cost you $100, maybe I need to go see a life coach. Maybe I need to spend the money somewhere else and invest in my next, where am I going? The other part, Mark, if they're really tired, because if people are really exhausted and under a great deal of physiological load, then the brain isn't functioning all that well.
Right.
It doesn't even have the capacity to learn new things. So oftentimes, if they have a lot going on in their lives, the less they can do. So I always say, personally in the summertime now, is sunlight. Just to nap in the sun and just get to that parasympathetic state where you're resting, and you can start to digest all the things that's going on in your mind and start to come up with some solutions to what your circumstances are allowing you to do, or allowing or requiring your conscious effort.
Well, and I think what I'm gleaning from what you're saying too, bad relationships that lead us to bad food and drink, that force us to bad medicine, are not going to work.
Right.
So
well, they're going to work. They're going to work in one level of life, in terms of like the literal realm of life. In other words, person wakes up, they're exhausted from the night, they're miserable, they're tired, so they grab the coffee. That's their medicine, and that's really going to get them through the day.
It's the classic line of, you know what, my job stinks, So I'm going to go out and have a couple extra drinks on a Friday night at the end of the work week. And then I feel so lousy the next morning I got to pour the coffee down the hatch and start over again Monday. And then you wake up one day and say, what do you mean I've been diagnosed with a disease? It's craziness.
Well, I want to. I don't know how far I want to push this envelope, but we can give a concept that when a person is behaving in that manner, then life stinks. So what? What the heck? Let me speed up the death process.
Right.
Let me try and kill myself quicker, and it will be socially acceptable. It'll be a suicide, but it'll be socially acceptable.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is that there's a psychological. I don't like the word entity, but a psychological
component
identification that says death is inevitable, and I might as well just do it. So some people call that a trauma, which is the death urge. I have an urge to kill myself quicker because life stinks. Life is stressful. And so what they're doing is they don't want to kill their life. They want to kill the struggle. They want to kill the pain and suffering.
It's a matter of, I think, choosing consciousness. It's a matter of choosing awareness, being alive in body, mind, and spirit, and actually getting somewhat, what's the word I want to say, adamant about it, getting highly charged up about it. And, if you want to direct your anger, instead of directing it inward towards self-destruction, direct it in a positive, stimulating, charged up passion manner. Get passionate about being conscious and living the greatest life on the planet, and demand it. And I think to charge yourself up like that and to invoke whatever change and to accept the possibility that you do indeed have the power to invoke whatever change is necessary to really keep your life functioning at the highest possible level is really, that's inspirational stuff.
What you're doing, Mark, is you're really making a statement of your life right now, it's life or death.
Yep.
And so in that moment, which one do you want to choose? Are you going to access your power of choice? And is it life, aliveness, or do you want to continue death? And someone said, even that piece of cake, it's life or death.
Pretty much true. Hey, Dan,
you're
giving a presentation upcoming. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, this one, ironically, the manager from Good Health, Tony.
Yep.
He was saying, Dan, you got to bring your work over to the South Shore. We need people like yourself. And I said, all right, well, I'll consider it. And finally, the universe opened up an opportunity, and there's a place called Sacred Space Healing Center in Marshfield.
Yeah, Sacred Space Healing Center in Marshfield.
Yeah, right on Ocean Street.
Right on Ocean Street, yeah.
And I think it's right by Webster Square. So I met up with the owner, Michelle, and she and I discussed doing a lecture, a 2-hour lecture called The 7 Elements of Healing. So that's going on from 7 to 9 p.m., June 27th. That's Wednesday, June 27th, from 7 to 9. And we're charging $25, but people that want to come take a tape recorder so you can record everything so you won't lose anything, because the concepts are going to be quite impactful.
So that's going to be Wednesday, folks, June 27th from 7 to 9 at Sacred Space Healing Center. That's right here in Marshfield. Folks can call Dan at 413-663-4985 or check him out on the World Wide Web at Dan Hegerich. That's Dan, Hegerich, at yahoo.com. And they can find out more from those bits of information from both your telephone and from your website, I assume. Is that right?
Yeah, and they can also contact Michelle directly at the site, at the center, at 781-834-4300, 834-4300.
Dan, as always, remarkable having you on. I'd love to have you on for a whole night some night soon.
Well, that would be great. The summertime would be nice. We could probably think about the end of the summer.
So folks can actually contact you through your website, I would assume. Is that right?
Yep, absolutely.
And Dan is, of course, what we call the blue-collar healer. He has been a remarkable inspiration for so many folks, and again, a 6-time cancer survivor and a man with a tremendous amount of wisdom and tremendous amount of passion. And if you've not heard Dan Hegerich speak, I recommend all my listeners get out there and listen to this particular event on June 27th at Sacred Space Healing Center in Marshfield. Dan, thanks so much.
Mark, my pleasure. Take care.
Take care. All right, we're going to go to a short break. We'll be right back.
Are you one of the 20 million Americans suffering from neuropathy, shingles, or chronic nerve pain? In the last 3 years, many people have discovered excellent and affordable treatment for diabetic, post-chemotherapy, and other types of neuropathy and chronic pain. Dr. John Hayes, chiropractic physician since 1981 on Route 53 in Norwell, has had such astounding results with his unique neuropathy program that he's now teaching his remarkable system to doctors around the country. His most recent book, entitled Beating Neuropathy, remains a bestseller. In fact, Dr. John Hayes is the world's exclusive educator and trainer for Rebuilder Medical Technologies. Call Dr. Hayes' office 24/7 to schedule a free neuropathy analysis. Call 781-659-7989. That's 781-659-7989. Call now while free neuropathy analysis slots are open.
Now, back to the Natural Health Show, sponsored by iFree2Be and Dr. Mustando of Marshfield Chiropractic.
Alrighty, welcome back. And as always, it's a special, special night when we have Dan Hegerich on, the blue-collar healer, good friend for many, many years. And I really do feel like if you've never heard Dan speak, you're in for a very special and rare occasion. He's a gifted guy, and he's lived through it, and he's lived through it 6 different times, and he tells you a great deal of stories about his experiences and really shares from the heart about the mind, body, and spirit component of beating cancer and of contending with the disease that we call cancer from a very, very broad perspective. So I recommend that you get on down there and give a listen, because if you've not heard him again, you're in for a rare treat. But bring it full circle here, folks. We've been talking with you about thinking differently, expanding your awareness. You know, Dan helped us with that. About the concept of cancer, about your understanding of it. So many folks that I meet with who are cancer patients, who are looking for nutritional support and looking to ask questions, it's astounding to me how uninformed they really are. You know, I mean, I'm thinking to myself that I can envision the tremendous amount of inspiration that one should indeed glean from being diagnosed with the disease, and should really be searching every possible avenue of solution here. So to learn more about again, ask the success rate of your specific type of cancer and the treatments. And when someone says to you, look, we want to treat your cancer with X, Y, or Z, to really shop it and to really study it and to really look at it and to make sure as a student of your own body, your own life experience, you're really defining. Don't trust me. Don't trust anybody. You need to trust yourself. You need to really explore. You need to study. You need to examine. You need you to bat for you. You need to really work hard at better understanding what you're up against and really fully exploring all possibilities here. But, when you think in terms of, some of the information that is out there, Dr. Tullio Simoncini, I spoke about earlier, Simoncini, Tullio Simoncini, who wrote a book called Cancer is a Fungus. And again, he biopsied over 1,000 different tumor sites and found that the white core in the middle of the tumors indicated to him that they were indeed fungal. So there is indeed a candida fungal colonization, a fungal bacterial colonization that drives these. Well, that correlates perfectly well with the information that we were provided by Dr. Otto Warburg back in the 1960s, the 2-time Nobel Prize winner, saying the primary cause of cancer is the fermentation of sugar. Well, fermentation and sugar do what? They produce candida fungus in the body. Well, that's exactly what Simoncini said drives the tumor sites. He also reminds us that tumor is merely a symptom. These cancer cells feed off of the sugar. They produce lactic acid, which is then excreted into the bloodstream and is carried into the liver, where it's then converted back into glucose again. So it's this endless cycle of sugar feeding that cancer cells like to go through. And they like to create a lactic acid environment. Once again, if you alkalize yourself and you cut down on the amount of sugar that you provide yourself, simple sugar, you're providing it with an environment that it does not prefer. And I always say that you want to start thinking of yourself as a host. And with cancer, you want to learn to be a bad host. That's the key. I always tell everybody, you walk into a greenhouse, everything has a care tag. Everything in the world of biology, everything in the world of life has a care tag. You have a care tag. Every plant, every living thing has to have certain prerequisites met in order to survive. Cancer is no different. It requires acidity, it requires fermentation, it requires sugar. So to be a bad host, throw away that care tag. Don't give cancer what it needs. Again, folks interested in looking more at the we talked about CanGly tea. It's a remarkable set of circumstances that has arisen from the other side of the ocean in China. Researched at the National Taiwan University, developed by Chinese pharmacist Li Dapeng in 1997, and it's been studied in China since 1997. 270,000 study subjects, 2,000 hospitals, over 500,000 Chinese have been aided by, assisted by, and helped by this CanGly tea. Well, what is it? It's nothing more than barley. It actually has, again, it's a whole grain product that's been made into a gel cap. There are fats, there are lipids in the seeds, little fatty acids in the seeds that have 6 very powerful antioxidant compounds. And pretty much the same thing for all intents and purposes that you're going to find with the beta-glucan. So I always recommend that folks want to supercharge their immune system. And you want to basically make sure that your immunity is at a peak level. One of the things you're going to want to buy is something called Transfer Point. That's the brand name, Transfer Point Beta-Glucan, Glucan. And wow, this time goes by far too quickly. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to thank Tim McKenney, who's our producer and does a great job each and every Sunday night. Thanks to Ed Perry, of course. And thanks to Candida for getting this thing together and organized. And also, please check out the website, maxhealing.com. It's one word, maxhealing.com. Until next Sunday, this is Mark Mincola reminding you all, please, be wise, be aware, be well, make it a healthy week. Good night.